So just using the blue, just get as much as you want on your brush and come in. You can just lay it in and begin to do a little bit of blending. These can go straight across. Remember how we went back and forth a while ago with some of the white? You can do the same thing with the blue. Just go across with the blue. You can drag it right into the white when you need to tone down the white. You can go right in. You can make it really wavy, really have a lot of movement in it. Or you could, look how it changes when you put this little blue in it. It just looks like the water's just coming right out of that wave. A little bit more blue right in the center and let that water come right up between the rocks. And I think we're all good. Yeah, the goopy part of the paint can just really be fun just to draw in and play with for sure. Okay, so let's make some more detail for our boat. We're going to use the palette knife for some of that too. So keep that in hand for a minute and let's look at the part right here that's blue. And let's begin to make it look a little older or worn out, weathered. So in being able to do that, if you will come in, if you've got this brown a little bit darker here, I'm picking up burnt sienna and yellow ochre, and I'm just gonna take the palette knife, I'm gonna lay it down flat right into the boat, and then I'm gonna scrub it out. I'm just gonna scrub it right into the area so it looks weathered and worn. And now all my paint's off my knife. So stop when all the paint's gone. Then load more paint. In this particular case, we're going to actually paint marks on the boat. We're going to drag a little bit of it. We're going to lay it down, put the knife on the top where the line is, and then just drag the palette knife down. And as you do, you're releasing some of the paint, sometimes in some places. So do it with the brown and then take the gold and do it in some places that you overlap with just a little bit. You're just barely touching the line and then you're coming straight down. You're barely touching the line and you come straight down. You're pushing the paint right into the canvas. Just laying it right on top of it. It's very uneven. Okay, let's add a little white and gold and come right in and lighten up a few places where the light might be hitting it, but you're doing the same thing. Remember with the rocks we started black and brown and gold and then we added white? Well, in here we want a little bit of each one of those colors just spread out along the way in some places so it looks old. Now, add a smidgen of brown into your color. So now we've got black and brown and gold and maybe even some white that we can mix together so that we can come up with a gray. And the gray literally is going to come in. We're going to use that in this section to go through and actually make some of the trim work that goes around the edge. So I'm just using the knife to make this side look dark. This is the gray side, And this side is gonna be the white side. This is the gray side. So I'm coming up, I've got black, brown, white, tan, all of the colors that we've been using. And I'm gonna put gray in here. So I'm using, look at the tip of the knife, I'm just putting it in, turning it around, dragging it. Remember, it's not exact, it's not even, it's not all in the same place. Just dragging it, filling up that corner. All that's grayish. Black, brown, smidgen of gold, smidgen of white. Grayish color. Now we're gonna actually scrub that color over here on the boat, on the side. See how I just took the tip of it and just scrubbed it right across. Same thing here in this corner. Just take it and scrub it from the line, moving it out towards the center of the boat a little bit. Just a little scrub. Now that middle section has two parts. It has a side and a front that we can see. So I'm using just the tip of the knife to lay down that gray color. And I'm going up above where the rock is. Going right up to the rock, but that's the grayish color. I'm just hitting it with the knife enough to get some color in there. I'm actually covering up the rope, and then I'm gonna put the rope back on top of it in a minute, because I know where the rope goes, because the rest of it's still there. Now take that same gray, black, white, tan, take it and make a line that divides that section in half. See how I just laid the knife down and just went back and forth and it made a line? See if you can make a line. Okay, back here where all this blue is on the top part of the boat, let's lay the gray down and then scrub it down to the bottom. Lay it down and scratch it down. Lay it down, push it down. Lay it down and scoop it down. Scratch it. Just go right across and watch the paint just antique that boat. Now, can you add white to it so it lightens it up? This little molding that comes along the boat here is white, but remember it has a lot of discoloration in it that's not white. So I'm just gonna lay it down and barely touch it and spread a little bit of the paint, just a little bit, so you can tell it's white. But it's just making a mark. I'm connecting all the little knife strokes together in a line. Go all the way around. Then you've got this part in the center of the boat. This edge that we haven't painted yet is white. Remember, the first one we did over here was gray, but the light's hitting this one, so I took the same white that I've been using over here, and I just take lay it over on its side, like at a 45, and just put the paint on and release it. Same thing here, I'm turning my arm so I have a wrist movement that I can use. See how I just lay down the white? I lay it where I want it to go, and then I move it, and then stop. And just cover up the rope for now. So you can notice the top half of the section here is white, but the bottom half is brown. So let's slide over and get the burnt sienna. We'll pick up a little bit of that on the tip of the palette knife. Just a little bit of brown. And we're gonna go in here and we're gonna do the same thing right here. We're just gonna lay it down and fill up the space. It's just a fun way to get texture. It's a fun way for it not to have a straight line or an edge. It's a fun way for it to look old. So I let the brown mix with the white that was right up above it just a little bit. Just let it drag right through it.
I don't hold down fast enough.
I don't think so, me either.
I think I'm trying, but
I get it. It's a whole new experience for sure.
not doing what I want to do.
And one thing you can do if you don't feel as comfortable using the knife, you can always get your small brush and just go along the edges and create the color like you want. This is just giving it a texture that you really probably can work on for a long time to master. But it is something to think about, something fun to create with. It's different than a brush. Certainly has a different look to it. But you could do as much scuffing as you wanted to the boat. You could just take and really scuff it up if you wanted to. Now it's really fun to do the rope with it, and it won't take a minute, so we'll, and you might had rather do that with your little brush, so I'm gonna do it both ways. But I'm making a color that's grayish, so I'm putting white and black together. And then just a little bit of gold in it. So it's an old, worn out rope. But of course it's gotta be strong enough to hold the boat. But literally, once you get that color and you scoop it, it's real easy to just lay it down and pat it. See how you can just pat it and let the paint just, the paint's gonna go where you make it go. And you make it go by how you press it and where you press. So you just push right into the canvas and just let it deposit it where you push it. That's the main thing. You just have to, it's control over the pressure. But it's really fun with the gray. You can play around a lot with the gray and do more and more and more, making it look older and older and older if you wanted to. But you could play for hours in with that part of it, of course. But if you decide that playing with the palette knife isn't what you think you want to do to finish up this painting, you can certainly take the number 2 brush and you can use it just to make scuff marks too. You know, you can scuff with a brush just like you can. It's a little bit different and it takes a little more time just because you can't carry as much paint on it. And, most people feel like they have more control with the brush than they do an ivy, especially if they haven't used it a lot. So I'm gonna, enhance, a little bit of the boat and some of the rocks with mixing yellow ochre with the magenta color. It just is a nice warm color that looks a little peachy that you can use in a few places. And this is just a little extra warmth that you could get. There's a lot of, blue going on. There's a lot of white. So this peachy kind of color, you can accent a few places. See how I'm putting it on the rocks? I'm just barely touching it. I'm doing more like a little dab. Doing a little dab over here where I'm just sort of dragging it along. Just dragging it around. I can put some on the boat. It's just enough to warm up the places that I feel like need that extra little oomph of color, because it's just a real high concentration of a really strong blue and a really strong white. And this will add a lot of fun and character in it. So any other playing that you want to do, you certainly can. It's just really a good opportunity to see what you can do with a small little palette knife that's an inch long. It can carry a lot of paint and it can build a lot of texture for you.